And now, as Monty Python would like to say, no one expects the Spanish Inquisition, but you're all expecting it because I mentioned it already. But what about the Inquisition, that horrible, horrible institution? Council of Trent. Its decrees are turned into the law of the land, 1563 by King Philip II of Spain. This doesn't happen in France. In France, actually, no one can publish the decrees of the Council of Trent because the French crown doesn't like the claims of papal hegemony the Council of Trent put forward. But in Spain, it's different. And in Spain, you have an Inquisition. And you have an Inquisition that suddenly turns to the clergy and turns to one abuse in particular. And how appropriate for a clerical institution like the Inquisition to link corruption to a sacrament, and it's the sacrament of penance. The code title in the annals of the Inquisition is Abuse of the Confessional. Priests who use the confessional to sexually harass penitents, especially women, but also men and also children. Why am I mentioning this? Why the Inquisition? Well, this worked, and it was lay involvement, because the only way that these clergy could be processed is if they were denounced by the laity. And the way it worked was like this. The Inquisition shows up in a town. They read the Edict of Grace, which is a list of the aberrant behaviors that you're supposed to report if you know about them. Included among these is the abuse of the confessional, which makes the abuse of the confessional and this sexual harassment as awful as any heresy. And you have to report it. And if somebody else reports this case, let's call it case A, somebody reports this case and names you as someone who also knows about it, but you haven't come forward to report it, you are brought before the Inquisition. So this is not entirely a pleasant experience of lay involvement. But it worked. The archives of the Inquisition have many gaps. Many of the records have been destroyed, but we have hundreds and hundreds of cases. I have seen it myself with my own eyes. Suddenly in 1570 or so, I'm looking for cases of this or that. Suddenly, page after page after page after page, I'm encountering cases of abuse of the clergy. And this continues all the way to the Inquisition is shut down in the early 19th century. But the number of cases gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Did it work? At one level it did. At another level, the Inquisition became less relevant up to the 19th century.